Assalamu alaikum, this is Pivot, and I'm your host, Dr. Talat. Today's Pivot will focus Pakistan-Iran relationship, and we understand that Pakistan had love-hate, love-love relation with Iran for past couple of decades. In 1947, when Pakistan came into being, Iran was the first country to recognize Pakistan as sovereign state. So both countries then they were in a partnership with United States of America in our post-independent years. And Shah of Iran was the first head of state who visited Pakistan in 1950. So very cordial startup, and we see that when a revolution came in Iran in 1979. So after the revolution, the relationship, in fact, changed for no better, and it rather worsened in the days post-revolution. So when we discuss today's Iran and Pakistan relation, it is important to find out what are the factors that actually affect this very important relationship. That needs to be things need to be put right, I think, bilaterally and in the context of region and globe. To discuss Iran-Pakistan relation, we have with us today an expert on Middle East and especially on Iran, Dr. Qandil Abbas, who is assistant professor at School of Politics and International Relations, Qaid-e-Azam University, and he has expertise on Iran and Middle East. Welcome, Dr. Qandil.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Qandil, discussing Iran-Pakistan relations, first of all, we see that there was a measure of cordiality between Iran and Pakistan when Pakistan came into being, and Iran was the first country to recognize Pakistan as sovereign state. So what are your comments?
Actually, if we divide Iran-Pakistan relations into two main historical categories, 1979, pre and post 1979. So in pre-1979 period, pre-revolution period, there were ideal relations between Iran and Pakistan, and both countries were on regional and international levels on the same track. And there were no disputes or conflicts between these two countries. Rather, they were having a lot of common interests. So based on those common interests, both countries started their diplomatic relations, and they developed and they improved their economic relations with each other as well. And during that whole period, there were no even competition between these two countries. Whole history is based on coordination and cooperation between these two countries. And during that period, we even observed that in Balochistan there were a lot of challenges both for Pakistan and Iran, because separatist movement in Pakistani Balochistan was very active, and they were having alliance with the Iranian separatist movement of Balochistan. Both countries were having Balochistan, and there was idea of Greater Balochistan. So both countries had joint venture to cope with these challenges, and they in fact eliminated those separatist elements, both from Sistan Balochistan from Iranian side and Balochistan from Pakistani side, and that was very close security relationship. So on regional level, we also observed that Pakistan's foreign policy remained Indian-centric, and during all challenges, Iran fully supported Pakistani stance. And on international as well, we observed that while designing and formulating a plan for OIC, Pakistan and Iran had very close cooperation in this regard, and also regarding other international and regional issues, both countries were having close relationship.
Okay. Before we discuss current dynamics of the relationship, I would just like to ask, when we discuss Iran-Pakistan relation, we see that there was some time, I think in recent past, that our relationship got a bit from cordiality to competition amongst the states, right? Like working in a larger region and globe. So what do you think when this cooperation mode changed into competition mode?
Actually, both countries are situated in a region where we are facing a lot of conflicts and a lot of challenges. Uh, as I already mentioned that during pre-1979 period, there were no any type of competition even between these two countries. But in post-1979 period, a lot of problems occurred between these two countries because in pre-1979 period, we had RCD, Regional Cooperation and Development. Both countries was part of that, and both countries were part of CETO and CENTO as well on the regional and international scenarios. So there was just cooperation and there was no competition. But in post-1979 period, the same track have been changed in different tracks because Iran adopted anti-West and anti-American foreign policy, and Pakistan remained on the same track, and Pakistan never went for confrontation with West or United States. So that because of this, these differences, both countries are facing a lot of differences about their regional and international policies. So, for example, we are having issue of Afghanistan in post-1979 period, and both countries are trying to have their influence in Afghanistan in different ways. So that has created sort of competition between these two countries. And later on, when after Soviet collapse, we have Central Asian states, and both countries are trying to have their influence and to establish their economic relations with Central Asian states. That has also created a lot of competition between these two countries.
Right. When we discuss cooperation, since a lot of connectivity which is related to CPAC and other things that we discuss in today's international affairs or regional affairs. So what do you think, what are the current dynamics of this relationship?
Current dynamics of relationship is, although we don't have a lot of common grounds for developing our relations in present era or in for future, but both countries are having mutual realization that we have around 909 kilometer common border, and that common border is border of peace for both the countries, because Pakistan had never had threat from Iranian side, and similarly, Iran had no threat from Pakistani side, and both the countries have never deputed their armed forces on these borders. But in post-1979 period, three main challenges occurred on these borders. First is drug smuggling, and second one is human trafficking, and third one is terrorism or sectarianism, and some elements of those who are active in Iranian Sistan, Balochistan, and they are sometime, as Iranian claimed, they are using Pakistani soil for attacking Iranian different regions. So that has created problem between Iran and Pakistan. But as per high-level visits, we observed that both the countries are have a deep realization that states are not involved against each other, but there are some non-state actors, those who are trying to challenge friendly relationship between Iran and Pakistan. So, but in some aspects, Pakistan is facing some problem to balance its relations on the one hand with Saudi Arabia and Iran, and on the other hand, United States and Iran. So that is creating a problem for Pakistani foreign policy.
Right. I'm asked to have a little break. We'll be back after the break. Dr. Qandil, when we discuss of the region, we see that there are a lot of problems, as you mentioned in your intro, that there are problems in the region. Like on one side we have Afghanistan, American presence in Afghanistan. On the other side we have India. There's a lot of problem with India and Pakistan. There's Iran, and Iran, closer ties with India. So there are complex dynamics of the region. Where do you think Iran stands in the context of this regional context?
It is very difficult issue for regional politics, because Iran is being isolated by Western countries and America during last 40 years. That was their attempt. But on the other hand, Iran adopted certain foreign policy to have its relations with certain countries. As now they reached on the level that they have good relations with Russia and they have good relations with China, as well as with different regional actors. But in general, Iran is trying to have its relations with India as well, because India is a big market for all over the world, not only for Iran. And during American sanctions and post-1979 period, China also provided a lot of support to Iran. But simultaneously, Iran established good relations with India, and that relationship provided good grounds and basis for economic activities and political activities of Iran. So Iran is having almost more than 18 billion US dollar at trade exchange with India. And despite the fact that US has day by day increasing its sanction against Iran, but India got exception in these sanctions, and still Iran is having good relations with, especially economic relations with India. But on the other hand, Pakistan is having rival relations with India, and Pakistan is expecting that Iran should have good relations with Pakistan. But the cost is very difficult for Iranian side, because they cannot forgive, and they cannot get back from their especially economic relations with India, because that is the only economic partner for Iran. But as well as Afghanistan is concerned, Iran is having very deep influence in especially Northern Alliance of Afghanistan, and they established their good relations with them. But on the other hand, Taliban are having good relations with Pakistan. So the incident of Mazar-e-Sharif, when more than 9 or 10 Iranian diplomats were killed in Mazar-e-Sharif, that incident in fact deeply influenced Iranian relations with Pakistan because of Pakistan's role in Afghanistan. So that was claimed by Iranian side that Pakistan can play effective role in balancing Taliban's attitude towards Iran. But after confrontation between Taliban and United States in post 9/11 era, now I think Iran is having a lot of opportunities in Afghanistan, and they are trying to have their own presence in inside the Afghanistan. And in some cases, we observed that Iran is having also better affairs with United States as well in Afghanistan.
Right, when we talk of regional politics, it's a very important question that relates to India and Pakistan relation. So when we have rivalry or competition or confrontation with India, so probably, as you mentioned in your talk, that Pakistan may not like to see Iran having very closer ties with India. So when Iran has closer ties with India, many scholars in Pakistan think that it actually Iran is running contrary to Pakistan's interests. Do you think it's like that?
I don't think, actually that is general perception in Pakistani media and in Pakistani academia as well sometimes. But as I have already mentioned, that Pakistan's trade relations with Iran are only in millions, not even, it has not reached to the billion, because in 2006 they signed preferential trade agreement, PTA. Because of that agreement, they tried to establish their good economic relations. But because of American sanctions, Pakistan could not enhance its relations with Iran, first. Secondly, Iran offered to resolve energy crisis of Pakistan, and it was expectation of Pakistan, and they have signed Iran-Pakistan gas pipeline, and as we know that Iran has completed its share, and they have brought the gas pipeline to the Pakistani border. But from Pakistani side, response is passive response and not very welcoming. And the justification is that we are having pressure from American side because of sanctions. Because of low profile economic relations, I think the issue of interdependency is declining. Both the country can fulfill lot of needs of each other, but because of external factors, they are not able to mature their expectation in proper sense. But on the other hand, Iran's relations with India are on 18 and 20 billion trade exchange level, and even they got exception about American sanctions. So Iranian side believe that we are having very good economic relations with India, and even they are having their political cooperation on regional and international levels. But these relations are never against Pakistan, cannot be utilized against Pakistan, and till now they have proved that they are favoring Pakistani stance on regional and international level. Okay. Especially on Kashmir issue, we have a lot of statements from Supreme Leader of Iran and President of Iran that they are supporting Pakistani stance on Kashmir issue.
Time for a short break. We will be back after a break. Dr. Qandil, you mentioned in your very detailed discussion about the trade that we have with Iran, and then gas pipeline issue that they have actually done their part of work till the Iranian border, and they expect Pakistan to do their bit now. And they also offered economic assistance to do this laying of the gas pipeline, but Pakistan is reluctant to complete the project. Now, you mentioned about US factors. So do you think there's a US factor, very prominent US factor in Iran and Pakistan relations?
Definitely, there are two main factors which are influencing Pakistan relations with Iran. First, United States, and other factor is Saudi Arabia and Arab countries overall. But Pakistan cannot ignore US pressures, because Pakistan's relation on regional, international and bilateral level, they are having very good relations and unavoidable issues with the United States. But about Saudi Arabia, I think again we have certain linkages which may not be acceptable for Iran, especially the recent force established by Saudi Arabia and some Islamic countries under the leadership of General Rahil Sharif, who was ex-army chief. There were certain complaints from Iranian side, but from Pakistani side, these concerns were resolved through extending this offer that Pakistan is having very good relations with Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan can play very good role in establishing and resolving problem between Iran and Saudi Arabia. So that is why I think when Saudi Arabia demanded that Pakistan should depute its forces in Yemen, Pakistan's parliament refused to send Pakistani forces to Yemen. And that was very good and positive gesture from Pakistani side for Iran, that we are not going to involve ourselves in US and Iran rivalries. So I think, again, I should repeat that both the countries, Iran and Pakistan, realized that their security is interlinked with each other, their politics is interlinked, and their on societal level, their public is having very good relations with each other, so that they are not ready to compromise their cordial relationship and friendly relationship. But it is a serious challenge for Pakistani politics how to create balance between its relations with Iran on the one hand and with the United States on the other.
Okay. No, we discussed various things about which reflect that there's a kind of reluctance in a relationship, not exactly strained. We don't use that word. There's a reluctance in that cordiality that Pakistan and Iran once had. So there are kind of divergences and there are convergences. So can you identify a few divergences that we can build on and there are divergences that we should refrain from, talking about or building on that?
Theoretically, actually, when we discuss or analyze bilateral, regional, and international relationship, in analyzing these relationships, especially in friendly relationship, common threats and common interests are two main factors that can be identified as a criteria of friendship. So regarding Iran and Pakistan, their threats are not common, because today our Pakistan's foreign policy is Indian-centric foreign policy. Our major threat is India, and our whole foreign policy is based on confrontation and dealing with India. That issue is not important for Iran. Their main contention is with Israel, with Arab countries, and with United States, and that is not concern of Pakistan. So threats are not common. But on regional level, on bilateral levels, terrorism is a common ground where we can establish very good relationship, because in countering terrorism against Iran, Pakistan have very good cooperation with the Iranian side, because when they captured their outfits, there was a certain role of Pakistani intelligence in that case. And recently, when some Iranian soldiers were kidnapped from Iranian side, and 2 times Pakistani security forces helped Iranian side, and they recovered those people and they handed back to Iran. Yeah. So that is on bilateral level, this is very good gesture. But on regional and international level, we are still having problems because of regional politics.
Thank you very much, Dr. Qandil Abbas. It was very interesting to talk about. We are running short of time. It was very interesting to talk about Iran and Pakistan relation. Viewers, I think this is very important relationship that we should build on with Iran and Pakistan in the foreign policy domain. We have been having a cordial relation with Iran, and we still have a very good working relation with Iran. And I think we must find out divergences and address them, and we must find out convergences that we can build on and make this relationship very cordial and nice. And that is how we, both countries, can benefit from. That's all from today. Until next week, Allah Hafiz.